The crimson warning lights bathed the bridge of the Terran survey ship Meridian in an eerie glow as Captain Sarah Chen studied the holographic display floating before her. What she saw made her blood run cold. 3 frontier outposts, each home to thousands of colonists, had gone completely silent within the past 72 hours. "Ma'am, we're receiving the final transmission from New Haven Colony," Communications Officer Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with concern. It's not good." The main screen flickered to life, showing a grainy image of a young woman in colonial administrator robes. Behind her, explosions lit up the night sky, and the distant sound of screaming could be heard over the comm static. "This is Administrator Walsh of New Haven Colony," the woman said, her voice cracking. "We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. They came from nowhere, ships we've never seen before. Our defenses are— Oh God, they're in the compound. If anyone receives this, tell Earth that we—" The transmission cut to static. Captain Chen closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with renewed determination. "Rodriguez, patch me through to Fleet Command. Priority Alpha." "Aye, Captain. Channel open." "Fleet Command, this is Captain Chen aboard the Meridian. I'm requesting immediate military support for the frontier sector. We have confirmed hostile action against 3 civilian colonies. Casualties unknown, but presumed heavy." The reply came back within minutes. "Negative, Captain Chen. The nearest battle group is 3 weeks out. You are ordered to investigate and report. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary." Chen's jaw tightened. 3 weeks. By then, any survivors would be long dead. "Understood, Command. Meridian out." She turned to her crew, all of whom had heard the exchange. "Lieutenant Torres, set course for the debris field where Harmony Station used to be. Maximum burn." "Captain," Chief Engineer Patel spoke up from his station, "with respect, we're a survey ship. We've got defensive systems, but against whatever did this—" "I know what we are, Chief," Chen replied firmly. "But we're also the only humans in this sector right now. Those colonists died because we weren't there to protect them. The least we can do is find out who killed them." The Meridian dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of what had once been the Harmony Station system. Where a thriving mining colony had existed just days before, now only twisted metal and frozen atmosphere hung in the void. "Scanning for survivors," Science Officer Kim announced. "I'm picking up—" "Wait! Captain, you need to see this." The main screen shifted to show a tactical display. Amid the debris, several sleek, angular ships moved with predatory grace. Their hulls were a deep purple black that seemed to absorb light, and energy signatures, unlike anything in the Federation database, pulsed along their surfaces. "Unknown configuration," Kim continued. "But I'm reading massive power signatures. Whatever their weapon systems are, they pack enough punch to crack a planetary shield." "Are they scanning us?" Chen asked. "Negative. They seem focused on collecting something from the debris field." Chen watched as the alien vessels used tractor beams to pull specific pieces of wreckage aboard their ships. "What are they salvaging?" "Unknown. But based on the debris signatures, it looks like they're specifically targeting our computer cores and data storage systems." A chill ran down Chen's spine. Information gathering. This wasn't random piracy or territorial expansion. Someone was studying humanity. "Captain," Rodriguez's voice was urgent, "I'm picking up a distress beacon. It's weak, but it's definitely coming from inside that debris field." "Survivors?" "Possibly. The signal is automated, but it's recent, within the last 6 hours. Chen made her decision. "Helm, take us in. Silent running. If there are people alive in there, we're getting them out." The Meridian glided through the debris field like a ghost, her engines barely registering on sensors. As they moved closer to the source of the distress signal, the scale of the destruction became apparent. Harmony Station had been home to nearly 8,000 people. Now it was nothing but twisted metal and scattered personal belongings floating in the vacuum. "Signal's getting stronger," Rodriguez reported. It's coming from what looks like an emergency shelter, the kind they build into the station's core. Life signs? Faint, but yes. I'm reading 17 human biosignatures. Relief flooded through Chen. 17 people out of 8,000 wasn't much, but it was something. Prepare a shuttle bay for emergency medical and get Dr. Bolaudo Martinez ready for mass casualties. As the Meridian carefully maneuvered toward the shelter, one of the alien ships suddenly changed course. "Captain, we've been spotted," Kim announced. "That ship is moving to intercept." "How long until we reach the survivors?" 3 minutes. "And how long until that ship reaches us?" 2.5. Chen's mind raced. In 30 seconds, they would be in weapons range of an enemy that had just destroyed an entire colony. But 17 human lives hung in the balance. "Torres, emergency burn to that shelter. Rodriguez, prepare to transmit a message on all frequencies. And Kim, I want everything you can tell me about that ship in the next 60 seconds. "Captain, that ship is huge," Kim reported as data scrolled across his screens. 3 times the mass of our heaviest cruiser. Energy weapons that I can't even classify. And what looks like some kind of exotic matter drive. "Message ready, Captain," Rodriguez announced. "Open the channel." Chen took a deep breath. This message might be the last thing she ever said, but it needed to be said. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation ship Meridian. You have attacked civilian targets and killed thousands of innocent people. We are here on a humanitarian rescue mission. Stand down immediately." The response came not in words, but in action. The alien ship's weapons began to charge, energy building along arrays that glowed with malevolent light. 30 seconds to the shelter," Torres called out. 20 seconds to weapons range," Kim added. Chen watched the tactical display with growing tension. It was going to be close. Too close. "Captain, I've got the survivor pod on tractor beam," Chief Patel announced from engineering. "Bring them aboard and get us out of here. Maximum burn." The Meridian shuddered as her engines pushed beyond safe limits. Behind them, the alien ship opened fire, but they were already accelerating away at the edge of their weapons range. Purple energy beams lanced through the space where they had been moments before. "We're clear," Torres announced. "Jumping to hyperspace in 10 seconds. As the stars elongated and the Meridian entered the safety of faster-than-light travel, Chen finally allowed herself to breathe. They had 17 survivors. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. In the medical bay, Dr. Martinez worked frantically to stabilize the refugees they had pulled from the wreckage. Most were suffering from severe shock, exposure, and radiation poisoning. But one of them, a middle-aged man who had been the station's security chief, was conscious and talking. "They came out of nowhere," he told Chen as she sat beside his medical bed. "No warning, no demands, nothing. Just started shooting. Our shields held for maybe 5 minutes before they punched through." "Did they try to communicate? Make any demands?" The man shook his head weakly. "Nothing. It was like we were insects to them. They just exterminated us." "What about the other attacks? New Haven Colony, Prosperity Mining Station?" "Same thing. We were in communication with both colonies when they hit. Prosperity went dark first, then New Haven 12 hours later. We thought we might have time to evacuate, but—" He gestured weakly at his surroundings. Chen felt a cold anger building in her chest. 3 colonies, thousands of dead, and for what? "Did you see them take anything specific?" "Computer cores, data banks, anything with information about Earth and the inner colonies. They knew exactly what they were looking for." That confirmed Chen's worst fears. This wasn't random violence. It was reconnaissance in force, gathering intelligence for something much larger. "Chief Williams," she said gently, "I need to ask you something important. In your opinion, were they testing our defenses, learning how we fight?" Williams met her eyes, and she saw the same terrible understanding there. "Captain, those ships? They were holding back. I've been in security for 20 years, and I know when someone's using their full strength. They could have vaporized the entire station in seconds, but they took their time. They were studying us. Chen left the medical bay with a heavy heart. In her ready room, she composed the most important message of her career. Personal log, Captain Sarah Chen, stardate 2387-156. I am transmitting this message to Fleet Admiral Morrison on Earth via quantum burst communication. Contents are classified under Article 7 of the Colonial Defense Act. Admiral, what we're facing out here isn't piracy or territorial expansion. It's a probe. Someone with technology far in advance of ours is gathering intelligence on human military capabilities, our colony locations, and our population centers. 3 frontier outposts have been destroyed in what appears to be a systematic intelligence gathering operation. I'm attaching all sensor data from our encounter with the hostile forces. They allowed us to escape, Admiral. I'm certain of it. They wanted us to report back. Sir, with respect, whatever is coming, it's bigger than anything we've faced before. The frontier colonies were just the beginning. I believe Earth itself may be the target. I'm requesting immediate military reinforcement of all outer colonies, and I strongly recommend we begin emergency preparations for a large-scale invasion. End log. As the message compressed and prepared for transmission across the galaxy, Chen stood at the viewport of her ready room, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between worlds, an enemy was preparing for war. They had killed thousands of humans, destroyed entire communities, and treated her people like laboratory specimens. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had let her live to tell about it. And Captain Sarah Chen intended to make sure that every human in the galaxy knew what was coming. You raided human outposts? Story Part 2. Fleet Admiral Marcus Morrison stood before the emergency session of the Federation Council, his weathered face grim as he reviewed the datapad in his hands. Around the circular chamber on Luna Station, representatives from every human world sat in tense silence, waiting for his assessment of Captain Chen's report. Ladies and gentlemen of the Council, Morrison began, his voice carrying the weight of 40 years of military service. What we're facing is an existential threat to humanity. The attacks on our frontier colonies were not random acts of violence. They were intelligence-gathering operations conducted by a technologically superior force. Councilor Martinez of the Mars Collective leaned forward. Admiral, you're asking us to mobilize our entire military based on the report of a single survey ship. Perhaps Captain Chen misinterpreted what she saw. Morrison's eyes flashed with barely controlled anger. Counselor, Captain Chen is one of our finest officers. But more importantly, we now have confirmation from 3 additional sources. He gestured to the chamber's main display, which lit up with tactical data. The merchant vessel, Lucky Strike, reported similar ships attacking the trading post at Kepler Station. The research facility at Tau Ceti has gone dark, and just this morning we lost contact with the entire Vega system. A murmur of concern rippled through the chamber. The Vega system was home to over 2 million colonists. 6 attacks, 6 victories for them, Morrison continued. 0 survivors recovered except for those 17 brave souls Captain Chen managed to save. Whatever these aliens want, they're taking their time to study us first. Councilor Okafor of the African Federation stood up. What are you proposing, Admiral? Full military mobilization. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have, and I'm recommending we implement Project Dragon's Wrath. The chamber fell silent. Project Dragon's Wrath was humanity's most classified military program, known only to the highest levels of government and military command. Admiral, Counselor Chen of Earth spoke carefully, that project was designed for a theoretical future threat. Are you certain we're at that level of crisis? Morrison activated a holographic display showing the destroyed remains of Harmony Station. Counselor Chen, Take a look at what used to be 8,000 human beings. Then tell me if we're at crisis level." The vote was unanimous. 3 days later, every human military installation from the Sol system to the frontier colonies received the same priority message. Condition Dragon. All units report for immediate deployment. On the massive orbital shipyards above Earth, Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood on the command deck of the newly commissioned dreadnought Terran Pride, watching as her battle group assembled. 50 ships of the line, from nimble destroyers to massive battleships, formed up in perfect formation. It was the largest human military force ever assembled. But Rodriguez knew it might not be enough. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from the other battle groups," her communications officer announced. "Battle Group Titan is assembling at Mars. Battle Group Cerberus is forming up at the Jupiter shipyards. All groups report ready for deployment within 72 hours. "And our special cargo?" Rodriguez asked quietly. "Secured in Bay 7, ma'am. Dr. Yamamoto confirms all systems are operational." Rodriguez nodded grimly. Bay 7 contained humanity's greatest secret, the culmination of Project Dragon's wrath. She only hoped they wouldn't need to use it. Meanwhile, in a classified facility beneath the surface of Europa, Dr. Elizabeth Yamamoto made final adjustments to the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created. The Dragon's Wrath device stood 30 meters tall, its exotic matter containment field humming with barely controlled energy. "Status report," she called to her team of scientists and engineers. "Exotic matter reserves at 100%. Replied Dr. Singh from the containment console. "Temporal stabilizers are within normal parameters. The device is ready for deployment." Dr. Yamamoto stared at her creation with mixed emotions. Dragon's Wrath was capable of destroying entire star systems, but it came with a terrible cost. Using it would mark humanity as a species willing to commit genocide to protect itself. Once that line was crossed, there would be no going back. Her secure communicator chimed. "Dr. Yamamoto, this is Admiral Morrison. How soon can you have the device ready for field deployment?" "It's ready now, Admiral. But, sir, I feel I should remind you of the potential consequences. If we use this weapon, we'll be announcing to the galaxy that humanity possesses planet-killer technology. That could make us enemies of every other spacefaring species." "Doctor," Morrison's voice was grave, "we may not have any other choice. Load it aboard the Terran Pride immediately." As the weapon was carefully transferred to the dreadnought's secure bay, reports continued to flood in from across human space. The aliens had struck again, this time hitting the industrial complex at Wolf 359. The pattern was becoming clear. They were systematically destroying humanity's ability to wage war. Captain Sarah Chen, now promoted to Commodore and given command of a fast attack squadron, stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the heavy cruiser Retribution. Her mission was simple: find the enemy and gather as much intelligence as possible before the main fleet arrived. "Commodore, we're approaching the Wolf 359 system," her tactical officer reported. "Sensors are detecting multiple contacts." On screen, the main display showed a scene of devastation that was becoming all too familiar. The massive industrial platforms that had once supplied the outer colonies with manufactured goods were now nothing but twisted debris. And moving through the wreckage were the same sleek, predatory ships that had destroyed Harmony Station. But this time, there were many more of them. "Count them," Chen ordered. "I'm reading 47 vessels, Commodore, all matching the configuration from our previous encounter." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. 47 ships. If each one was as powerful as the single vessel that had almost destroyed the Meridian, then humanity was facing an enemy force that could punch through their defenses with ease. "Are they scanning us?" "Affirmative. They've definitely detected our presence." "Good. I want them to see us. Helm, take us closer. I want detailed scans of their technology." "Ma'am, with respect, We're outnumbered 47-1. I'm counting on it, Chen replied grimly. They've been studying us. Now it's our turn to study them. As the Retribution moved closer to the alien fleet, Chen observed their behavior carefully. The enemy ships moved with coordinated precision, suggesting either very disciplined crews or possibly automated systems. Their energy signatures indicated power sources far beyond anything humanity possessed. But Chen noticed something else, something that gave her the first glimmer of hope she'd felt in days. Tactical. Are you reading what I'm reading? If you mean the fact that their shield configurations are optimized for energy weapons, then yes, ma'am. Chen smiled for the first time since this crisis began. They've been fighting enemies who use directed energy weapons, lasers, particle beams, plasma cannons, but notice what they don't have much protection against? Her tactical officer's eyes widened with understanding. Kinetic weapons, old-fashioned projectiles. Exactly. They've never fought anyone crazy enough to fire chunks of metal at near light speed. Send this data to Admiral Rodriguez immediately. Priority Alpha. The message reached the Terran fleet just as they were preparing to depart for the frontier. Admiral Rodriguez read Chen's report with growing excitement. Dr. Yamamoto, she called to the scientist via secure comm. How quickly can you modify our kinetic impactors for maximum effect against energy-based shields? Give me 6 hours, and I can have every ship in the fleet equipped with penetrator rounds specifically designed to punch through their defensive systems. You have 4 hours. We're moving out ahead of schedule. Across human space, the largest military operation in history kicked into high gear. Battle groups converged from every direction, loaded with modified weapons and burning for the frontier at maximum speed. In the shipyards, factories worked around the clock to produce kinetic ammunition designed to exploit the weakness Chen had discovered. But even as humanity mobilized for war, the alien attacks continued. Proxima Centauri, humanity's oldest extrasolar colony, went dark. The research stations in the Alpha Centauri system reported massive alien fleets moving through their space. And then came the transmission that changed everything. This is Dr. Sarah Kim at the Proxima Research Station. The message crackled with interference. We've made contact with the alien force. They're not just studying us for invasion. The transmission broke up for several seconds before resuming. They're running from something that destroyed their homeworld. They need our territory because they have nowhere else to go. The message sent shockwaves through Fleet Command. The aliens weren't conquerors, they were refugees. But refugees with overwhelming military superiority who were willing to commit genocide to secure a new home. Admiral Morrison called an emergency conference with all battle group commanders. This changes nothing, he announced grimly. They may be homeless, but they're still killers. They've murdered millions of our people without even trying to communicate. Whatever drove them from their homeworld, we can't let them do to humanity what was done to them. Commodore Chen, participating via quantum link from the frontier, spoke up. Admiral, with respect, what if we're looking at this wrong? What if they're not evil? What if they're just terrified? Commodore, they've destroyed 6 of our colonies. Yes, sir. But they also let my ship escape. They could have killed all of us, but they didn't. Maybe they're trying to send a message. Maybe they want us to know they're coming so we can surrender without a fight. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Even if that's true, Commodore, it doesn't change our response. Humanity doesn't surrender. We never have, and we never will. Then we fight, Rodriguez added, and we make sure they understand that humans aren't prey. The conference ended with final deployment orders. Every human military asset would converge on the frontier systems within 48 hours. It would be the largest space battle in galactic history. But as the fleets moved toward their destiny, none of them knew that the alien refugees had just received word that their ancient enemy had found them again, The same force that had destroyed their homeworld was now tracking them across the galaxy. And humanity was about to be caught in the middle of a war between two alien superpowers. On the bridge of the alien flagship Void's Edge, Supreme Commander Thextar studied the tactical displays showing human fleet movements. The primitives were mobilizing their entire military in response to his reconnaissance operations. It was impressive for such a young species, but ultimately futile. "Commander," his intelligence officer reported, "the humans are using kinetic projectile weapons. Our shields are designed primarily for energy-based attacks." Thextar's 4 eyes narrowed. Primitive projectile weapons against his advanced fleet? It should have been laughable, but his species had learned the hard way never to underestimate an enemy, no matter how technologically inferior they appeared. "Adjust our shield harmonics for kinetic impact, and prepare the planet crackers. If these humans want to fight, we'll give them a war they'll never forget." But even as he gave the orders, Thextar felt a familiar chill of dread. Long-range sensors were detecting gravitational anomalies at the edge of the galaxy, the same anomalies that had preceded the destruction of his homeworld. The Devourers had found them. The largest human fleet in history dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, their combined mass causing gravitational ripples that registered on sensors across 3 star systems. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Terran Pride, watching as 237 warships formed into battle formation. "Status report from all battle groups," she commanded. "Battle Group Titan reports ready for combat. Battle Group Cerberus in position. Fast attack squadrons deployed in screening formation," her communications officer reported. "All ships report weapons hot and shields at maximum." Rodriguez nodded, then activated the fleet-wide communication channel. Her image appeared on screens across the Armada, from the smallest patrol corvette to the massive dreadnought that served as her flagship. "Sailors and soldiers of the Terran Federation," her voice carried across space to every human warrior in the fleet. "Today we face an enemy that has murdered our people, destroyed our colonies, and threatened our very survival as a species. They came to our space seeking to study us, to learn our weaknesses, to prepare for our extinction." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "But they made one critical error. They assumed that we would be easy prey. They assumed that humans, when backed into a corner, would simply lie down and die. Today, we're going to show them exactly how wrong they were." A cheer erupted across the fleet, transmitted over the comm channels. 200,000 human voices raised in defiance of an enemy that considered them nothing more than obstacles to be removed. "Remember," Rodriguez concluded, "we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for the right of humanity to exist in this galaxy. No matter what happens here today, make sure they remember that humans never surrender." The fleet began its advance toward the Kepler system's inner planets, where long-range sensors had detected the alien Armada. But as they moved deeper into the system, tactical displays began showing readings that made even veteran officers pause. Commodore Chen, leading the advanced screening force, was the first to see them clearly. "Sweet Mother of God," she whispered, as the full scope of the enemy fleet became apparent. The alien force was enormous. Over 300 ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the human arsenal. Their formations moved with mechanical precision through the asteroid belt, harvesting resources with industrial efficiency while maintaining perfect defensive positions. "Ma'am, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the larger vessels," her tactical officer reported. "Some of those ships are generating more power than our entire battle group." Chen studied the tactical display with growing concern. Humanity had brought everything they had to this battle, and they were still outnumbered and outgunned by a significant margin. "Send a message to Admiral Rodriguez," she ordered. Tell her we're going to need every advantage we can get. Aboard the Terran Pride, Admiral Rodriguez received Chen's report just as her science officer detected something that changed everything. "Admiral, I'm reading additional contacts at the edge of the system," Dr. Yamamoto announced from her station. "These ones are different, much larger, and they're not moving like the refugee ships." The main tactical display shifted to show the new arrivals. If the refugee fleet was intimidating, these newcomers were absolutely terrifying. Massive geometric structures that seemed to bend light around them, moving with the inevitability of cosmic forces. "How many?" Rodriguez asked quietly. 17 vessels, but each one is the size of a small moon. "Admiral, I'm reading energy signatures that are off the charts. Whatever these things are, they make the refugee fleet look like toys." Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine as she realized what they were witnessing. "We're not looking at a simple invasion, are we? We're watching the continuation of an interstellar war." Her communications officer suddenly straightened at his station. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the refugee fleet." "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the image of an alien being unlike anything humanity had encountered before. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, skin that seemed to shift color like oil on water, and an expression that managed to convey both intelligence and desperate exhaustion. "Humans," the being spoke, its voice translated by the ship's computers. "I am Supreme Commander Thextar of the Jeknathi Refugee Fleet. We have not come to your space seeking conquest, but fleeing annihilation. The beings you see approaching are the Devourers, the enemy that destroyed our homeworld and consumed our people. They have tracked us across the galaxy, and now they come for you as well." Rodriguez stepped forward. "Commander, you've attacked our colonies, killed our people. Why should we trust anything you say?" Thextar's expression showed what might have been regret. "Because the alternative is the extinction of all life in this galaxy. The Devourers do not negotiate, do not show mercy, do not leave survivors. They consume entire civilizations, harvesting their knowledge and resources before moving on to the next system. We thought, if we could eliminate your ability to resist, we could claim your worlds and make a stand against them. But we have underestimated both your military capabilities and their relentless pursuit." Before Rodriguez could respond, her sensors officer called out in alarm. "Admiral, the newcomers are accelerating. They'll reach the inner system in 6 hours." On the tactical display, the massive Devourer ships began to move with frightening speed. Energy readings spiked as they charged weapons systems that defied human understanding. "Commander Thextar," Rodriguez said urgently, "are you proposing an alliance?" "I am proposing survival," the alien commander replied. "Separately, our forces will be destroyed. Together, we might have a chance to stop them here before they spread throughout your galaxy." Rodriguez turned to her staff officers. The decision she was about to make would determine the fate of humanity, possibly the fate of all life in the galaxy. "Dr. Yamamoto, what's the status of Dragon's Wrath?" "Fully operational, Admiral. But if what this alien is telling us is true, even our most powerful weapon might not be enough against 17 moon-sized ships." Rodriguez made her choice. "Open a channel to all human ships, full fleet frequency." When every human captain was listening, she spoke clearly and without hesitation. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. We are forming a temporary alliance with the Jeknathi refugee fleet to combat a common enemy. I know this is difficult to accept, given what they've done to our people, but sometimes survival requires us to work with former enemies against a greater threat." The response was immediate and mixed. Some ship captains voiced strong objections, while others acknowledged the tactical necessity, but all of them confirmed they would follow orders. "Commodore Chen," Rodriguez continued, "you're our liaison with the alien fleet. Work with their tactical commanders to coordinate our combined defense." As the two fleets began the complex process of merging their forces, the true scale of what they faced became apparent. The Devourers weren't just attacking. They were systematically stripping away the outer layers of planets, harvesting matter and energy with technology that made even the advanced Jeknathi seem primitive. "Admiral," Thextar contacted Rodriguez again, "there is something you must understand about the Devourers. They do not simply conquer civilizations. They absorb them. Every species they defeat becomes part of their collective consciousness, their technology, their military might. They have been doing this for millions of years." "How many civilizations?" Rodriguez asked. "By our count, they have consumed over 10,000 spacefaring species. Each victory makes them stronger, more adaptable. This is why we fled rather than face them in open battle." Rodriguez absorbed this information with growing determination. 10,000 extinct civilizations. If the Devourers won here, humanity would become number 10,001. "Dr. Yamamoto," she called to the scientist, "I want Dragon's Wrath modified for maximum effect. If we're only getting one shot at this, it needs to count." "Admiral, I can reconfigure the exotic matter matrix to create a cascading quantum implosion. It would be powerful enough to destroy multiple targets simultaneously, but what? The energy release would be visible from the other side of the galaxy. Every spacefaring civilization would know that humanity possesses weapons of mass destruction on a cosmic scale." Rodriguez looked out at the approaching Devourer fleet, their massive forms blotting out entire star fields. "Doctor, if we don't stop them here, there won't be any other civilizations left to worry about." The combined human Jeknathi fleet formed into a defensive formation unlike anything either species had attempted before. Human ships, with their kinetic weapons and adaptive tactics, interspersed with Jeknathi vessels and their advanced energy systems. It was a desperate alliance born of necessity, but as the hours passed, both species began to see the potential in their combined capabilities. "Humans are remarkably adaptable," Thextar observed to his officers as they watched human engineers work alongside Jeknathi technicians to create hybrid weapon systems. "They lack our technological sophistication, but they compensate with ingenuity and determination." Meanwhile, human tactical officers were amazed by the Jeknathi's advanced shield technology and energy manipulation abilities. Working together, the two species created defensive configurations that neither could have achieved alone. But even as they prepared their combined defense, the Devourers continued their approach with implacable certainty. Long-range scans revealed the full horror of what they faced. Ships that seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time, weapons that could unravel matter at the molecular level, and energy signatures that suggested they drew power directly from the quantum vacuum itself. "5 hours to contact," Rodriguez announced to the combined fleet. "All ships, prepare for the fight of our lives." On the bridge of the Devourer command ship, an entity that had once been a member of a proud spacefaring civilization gazed at the tactical display showing the primitive alliance forming against them. The being that had once called itself Admiral Kethvor now existed as part of the collective consciousness known as the Prime Devourer, its individual identity subsumed into the greater whole, while its knowledge and experience remained accessible. "The refugees have found allies," it observed to the collective. "These humans show unusual tactical innovation for such a young species." "It matters not," came the unified response of 10,000 absorbed civilizations. "We have faced desperate alliances before. We have consumed species with technology far more advanced than these primitives possess. Their resistance will only make the harvest more complete." But as the Devourer fleet moved closer to battle, something unprecedented began to happen. The combined human Jeknathi fleet wasn't simply preparing to fight and die. They were adapting, evolving their tactics in real time, creating new technologies and strategies from the merger of their respective capabilities. And in the deepest, most secure bay of the Terran Pride, Dr. Yamamoto put the finishing touches on humanity's ultimate weapon, Dragon's Wrath had been designed to destroy planets. Now, modified with Jeknathi exotic matter technology, it had the potential to do something far more ambitious. "Admiral Rodriguez," she called over the comm, "Dragon's Wrath is ready. But I need to tell you what we're really unleashing here. This weapon won't just destroy the Devourer fleet. It will create a quantum cascade that could destabilize this entire region of space." Rodriguez looked out at the approaching enemy, at the combined fleet of former enemies now standing together against annihilation, at the brave men and women of both species preparing to give their lives for a chance at survival. Sometimes, Doctor, you have to be willing to break the universe to save it. The final hour before battle arrived with cosmic inevitability. The Devourer fleet had formed into their attack formation, 17 moon-sized vessels arranged in a configuration that would allow them to harvest both fleets simultaneously. Energy readings spiked as they charged weapons capable of cracking planetary crusts. "All ships," Rodriguez broadcast to the combined fleet, "this is it. Remember, we're not just fighting for our own survival. We're fighting for every species that might exist in the future. If the Devourers win here, they win everywhere. But if we stop them—" She paused, looking at the tactical display showing nearly 400 ships of 2 different species united in common cause. "If we stop them, we prove that predators aren't the only things that can evolve in this galaxy. That cooperation and determination can triumph over consumption and extinction. Show them what happens when you awaken dragons." The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin.